Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I am independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. In today's tutorial I'm going to be making this beautiful card using the Beach Happy stamp set. This is a two-step stamp set, so I'm going to be using a lot of different stamp pads, but I did want to mention some of them are retired stamp pads, but you can easily adapt if you do not have those. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some scratch paper and we're going to be doing some sponging, but before we do the sponging I'm going to stamp this chair, and the reason why I'm stamping the chair first is we're going to be doing some masking for the chair cover, and masking is very easy. It's nothing to get nervous about. I will show you how I did it, and we're only masking actually the chair part, the cushion, I would say. Okay, so I want to just try to do something kind of similar to what I have on my example, and then it's a nice crisp image. And the next thing is the masking. So what I did is I took the image of the seat cover and stamped it on a sticky note, and then I cut it out. It's just very simple, easy thing to do. Nothing to be nervous about, as I was saying. So if you haven't tried masking, don't worry. Oh, but before I put the mask on, I am going to go ahead and stamp. Getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so just make sure you get this fully inked, and you can definitely look through and see if it's inked. Now, I did this a few times, and the most important thing is actually lining up at the top. The rest kind of falls into place, but you do have to look straight down. It really helps. So you're going to have to excuse my head, and we're going to hope for the best. Okay, it's slightly off, but it's not too bad. It could have been a little better. But, you know, when you're doing it on camera, there's kind of a rule about that. All right, so now I'm going to bring in my mask, and I'm going to just cover up the cushion part because we don't want any of the white. We want it to be a nice crisp white. Okay, so the next part, of course, is sponging. I'm going to start off with the beach, and this is the crumb cake, which is, of course, the current color. And I'm going to just create a nice soft color here, and I'm not going to be too worried about getting in on the chair. It's not going to really show up that much. So just sponge across. It's just really very easy to do this type of sponging. So if you haven't tried sponging, these little stamping sponges are really make it really easy. I just put on, make a little label for it and designate each color. Okay, so the next color I'm bringing in is Marina Mist, which is a retired color. And I'm going to just go across here. And oh, I did stamp this image with Highland Indigo, which is also a retired color. So I've got a nice little ocean here. And you could do masking and make it more distinct, but I kind of like just a real easy transition. So next is the soft sky. So you notice that I'm not stamping this part, and the reason is if I get a little in there, the Highland Heather will cover some of it, so I don't have to be super careful. I could, of course, create a mask for that too. But again, I'm not too concerned about 100% perfection here, just to make it look nice. This is soft sky, and it's also a retired color. One that is quite similar would be Pool Party or perhaps Balmy Blue. That's current. So I'm just kind of going in circular motions a little bit and just creating a nice soft sky. Pardon the pun. Now, if you want to create the sun there, you can mask it. And I masked earlier, but I forgot this time. Just use a 3/4 inch punch, and you can punch it out. So if you forget to do it, you could use like just a colored piece of cardstock and cover it that way as well. So too bad I forgot. Just imagine though, do as I say, not as I did, right? Isn't that what people say when they mess up? But anyhow, so I think that's pretty good. And next I'm going to go ahead and stamp with Highland Heather. I really do enjoy two-step stamping, and they're a lot of fun. And if you don't want to do the solid image, you can always color it yourself with like a marker or your blends. So I just want to make this nice and even, and sometimes that can be a bit of a trick. I'm going to be stamping off because it's really a harsh color if I just go straight down, and I will stamp this 2 times stamped off if I want. If I'm not quite satisfied and want it slightly darker, I will stamp off again. So I'm trying to avoid it looking blotchy. So there we go. Isn't that pretty? And you really can't tell. Well, you can see a little bit of soft sky there, but nothing that looks out of place, because actually if the sky is in the background, you know, you would expect to see a little sky. Okay, so that part is done. The next part I'm going to do is the tree, and that's super easy. I'm going to bring in my chocolate chip stamp pad, and this one is also a retired one. Now, the first time I did it, I thought this was the top of the tree. I was really silly. That is actually the base of the tree. So just tap really lightly with these foam pads. They are a lot different than the hard felt pads. So just keep that in mind always when you're working with foam. All right, so there is my tree, and I'm kind of running out of space a little around here because I have this does use a lot of different stamps. So bringing in my, not back end, but bringing in Pear of Pizzazz, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the tree. And this tree is super easy to line up. It's really beautiful, but of course I do have to get my head in a little bit. Now I did find one stamp, this one, and I'm wondering if this is a coconut. And so I'm going to go ahead and add it and wondering if that's what it was meant to be or what it's supposed to be. So I added a coconut. I don't know. I think that looks a little goofy. I don't think I would do that again. But I thought it looked like a coconut. Who knows? Maybe I need to add a couple of them just to make it less odd. Okay, so I might regret this. But here goes, right? All right, there's my second coconut. Got to have an odd number, so we're going to add another coconut. Okay, so there's my coconut. Climbing up the coconut tree, right? So I will set this aside because we are done sponging, and I don't need to worry about that. All right, so the next thing is to do the little basket. So I'm going to bring in my outline. First, you do the outline, and this could be over here or it could be here. I don't know. Whatever floats your boat. You can do either one. So crumb cake is what I'm going to do the basket weave part. So just bringing this back, and I'm going to get my head in here and go ahead and stamp down. So there you have it. Now, if you have a little bit where it's kind of showing through a little, you can bring in one of your blender pens and fill in. So what I mean by filling in is, this is with crumb cake, of course. I'm just going to pick up a little color and add it right here. So, you know, if you kind of mess up and make a little bit of a boo-boo, there's always a little bit, you know, of leadway here, the way these stamps are designed, that you can fill in. And you can see I didn't really overlap here. So this was a pretty easy fix. So if you wonder what do you do if you kind of mess up, that's what I would suggest. Use a blender pen or one of the markers or something along those lines just to fix it. So if you wonder why I have these here, it's just to mark, like, these are natural colors, these are my blues, and I have another one where I mark for red and purples, because they do kind of eventually stain your blender pens. All right, so I will go ahead and take off my mask, and we have a few more steps, but this is the basic card. So once you have that mask off, isn't that cool? It looks nice and crisp, and it looks like the ocean's right behind it. So very lovely scene you can create here. Now, I did have this homemade stamp, if you will, for a sun, and I'm going to go ahead and just try it to see how it would look, even though I didn't mask out a sun. I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to go ahead and add it. Oh, that's not too bad, actually. This came from the very vintage set, the stamp. It was a centerpiece, and I cut it out to make like a sun. So just a little tip, you can kind of make a sun out of like a waste part of rubber. All right, so actually that didn't turn out too badly. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and bring in my matting. And with this matting, because most of it will not be showing, I like to remove part of it just because then I can use this for another project. Of course, this isn't necessary, but again, if you want to save on some paper, you can always do that. So I'll just set this aside. The only thing I would be concerned about is, you don't want to have an indent, so I do not glue on that part of it. So I'll just go ahead, put a little glue here, directly on the mat, and then I'll get closer to the edge on the actual picture. Go ahead and edit. So I hope you are enjoying seeing this scenery and all of my little goof ups, but it will give you some ideas perhaps on a card if you want to make it. So here is the Soft Sky card base. Just go ahead, fold it. I do have it scored, but I do like using my bone folder for this, even if I've scored it, just to make sure I get it nice and straight. I definitely like using the bone folder. So, all right, flipping my card over, we're going to do this, and then we got a stamp inside, and we have to still put on the bow. I thought the bow was pretty cute on the tree, and I do not think I like those coconuts. So that was definitely kind of a goofy idea to do that on camera, to try that out. I should have tried that on my own time, if you will. But you can see why not to do it, I guess, right? The coconut was, maybe if I had done with the crumb cake, it would have been better. I don't know. Okay, so I've got this beautiful ribbon here, and I've already made a bow because making bows on cameras really does not go together for me. I'm going to go ahead and just pick up a glue dot and add it to the tree. Now there's this little like indent thing on the tree, and I kind of think that's the right spot to put it on. Not that it really matters, but I think that looks really cute. To add a little more of the Calypso coral. This is like a nice beachy color. I really enjoy it. So bringing in my Island Indigo, we're now going to do the stamp that says relax, you deserve it, which a lot of people I'm sure are dreaming right now about the beach. We've been having a lot of cold weather and snow and so forth. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please consider subscribing. If you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to tap the bell for notifications. If there are any products you would like to order, please email me at mewants3@gmail.com. And happy stamping.